Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffrey Hunter from Ackermann Alignment. Listen, I have some great news for you because this is my third day of fasting. Fasting is really good for the body. Fasting is one of the tools that we can use to eliminate so many diseases that afflict mankind today. How does fasting work? This is the greatest question that we can learn from fasting. So so we want to talk about fasting today. Fasting is abstemishness, abstaining from all articles of food, tea, coffee, juices, fruit, protein, carbohydrates. And what we do is we just focus on drinking water. Yeah, that's the greatest healer of mankind, is to drink water. And of course I've got ionized water here. You must remember that the body is an electrical system, so the body it relies on electricity, it relies on minerals, it relies on the electrical salts that encompass the body. Yeah. So the electrical currents of the body particularly relate to certain salts. Okay, so there are certain salts in the body, there are certain minerals that the body requires, and so let's talk about fasting. All right. So one of the reasons why I've chosen to do a fast is because of the fact that whenever we have a malady, you know, we need to look at the animal kingdom. What does the animal kingdom do when they have a malady? Do they eat? You'll always notice that they cease to fast. They cease to eat and they begin a fast. So that is nature's own way of dealing with sickness and disease in the human body. And so, as I said, this is my third day, 72 hours. And how am I feeling? Well, the first 3 days, the first 72 hours of fasting is the most difficult. You have to get past that gauge where the body is requesting food, and largely it's mainly mental. It's mainly a mental thing that you need to overcome. And so, what does fasting cure? You know, I have read so many accounts, and I'm talking about from medical supervised fasting. I'm talking about medical supervised fasting here. I'm not talking about going ahead and fasting without medical supervision. So just make that very clear to you, yeah? All right, so what are some of the diseases that fasting attacks? Well, first off, we need to understand how fasting works, yeah? Now, as you understand, the body requires certain carbohydrates, minerals, and protein to function on. That's what the cells require. So the intracellular components, the intracellular physiology requires a certain amount of protein, a certain amount of minerals, a certain amount of vitamins. It requires water, it requires oxygen. And so all of these ingredients make the cellular components function and work. Yeah, it's what keeps your body functioning. It's what we call homeostasis. So what is homeostasis? Homeostasis is a system where normality is maintained. A correct balance is maintained. And primarily I want to speak to you about the pH, which is the power of hydrogen. pH means power of hydrogen in the body, okay? That's what it basically means. And so when we measure pH, we measure it on an acid to alkaline level. So you can have an acid level, you can have an alkaline level. Acid is 0. Alkaline, it can be, the highest point that we see on a scale is 10, all right? So you want to be right in the neutral perspective of that scale, which is roughly around 7, but usually the body will function, the body will maintain a pH balance of around 7.1 to about 7.2. That is the ideal ratio where the blood should be so that the heart can function, the urinary system can function, the blood system can function, the heart can function, the respiratory, the lungs, okay, all of those things that are vital. We're talking about the vital organs, yeah? The organs that operate without voluntary decision. All right, so we're talking about the autonomic nervous system. Now, at Ackermann alignment, you have heard me many times speak about the spinal cord and the autonomic nervous system, the somatic system, the involuntary and the voluntary nervous system, which controls our involuntary organs and our voluntary organs. So our involuntary organs are the heart and the lungs, okay, the urinary system, the digestive system. These are the systems that operate without your decision, okay? It's just a bodily function. So fasting is going to help you in any of those areas that you are suffering. Okay, so if you have a disease with the urinary system, if you have a blocked prostate, fasting will help you with a blocked prostate. If you have respiratory problems, if you have asthma, fasting will help you with asthma, with respiratory difficulties. If you have a heart function, a circulatory function, if you are on statin drugs, yeah, where you have to take high blood pressure to be able to keep your blood pressure at a normalized level, fasting will help knock that out forever. That's the beauty of fasting. So how does fasting work? Well, fasting basically functions on the fact that your body will go into apoptosis. Now, apoptosis is what we recognize and what we identify as cell death. Every day, 120 cells, red blood cells, will die, and new blood cells will be rejuvenated, will be recreated. They will be synthesized, yeah? So, and those red blood cells are made within the bone marrow. There you go. All you Ackermann alignment fans out there, we talk a lot about bones, but how many of you recognize that it's the bone marrow that makes red blood cells, yeah? So that's how important it is to keep your ligament, your muscle, your tendon, and your skeletal frame in alignment through Ackermann alignment. So apoptosis is one of those forms of where the body will destroy and eat those diseased cells, those cells that are rogue in your body. There are many rogue cells in our body, whether that be through adipose tissue, fat, yeah? Are you fat? Are you too fat? Well, fasting will help you with that. Do you have migraines? Do you have saliva? Do you have a sleeping apnea? How many women, how many mothers, how many wives out there are complaining of their husbands snoring in bed at all times of the night? Yeah? Sleeping apnea is the #1 cure of water fasting. Strictly water fasting, strictly strictly digesting water for 3 or more days. So we're going to register each day of my fasting. As I said before, I didn't register my first day. I didn't register my second day. Today I have begun to register my third day of fasting, yeah? And that means I have not eaten one morsel of food. I haven't touched one iota of sugar. I haven't touched any protein, any carbohydrates whatsoever. All I have been drinking is just pure, unadulterated water, filtered water, yeah? And of course you want to add mineral salts with that. Tomorrow I'm going to begin with